Clair Obscur Expedition 33 won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, so before 2025 finishes up, I wanted to get the Platinum Trophy for it. To do so, I'll need to earn all 55 trophies in the game, which requires me to get all collectibles, reach max level with at least one character, beat the optional super boss, and many more. Also, I'm going to be doing all of this on expert difficulty to make it an even harder challenge. Starting the game off in Lumiere, we get introduced to the protagonist of the game, Gustav, and his adopted sister, Maëlle, who are talking about an event happening today called the Gommage, and how Gustav wants to reconcile with his former girlfriend, Sophie. This starts the prologue, which gives me a basic intro to movement and combat, before I end up meeting up with Sophie, who accepts the flower from Gustav, and joins me to walk around Lumiere. I spent a while walking around Lumiere, making sure to talk with every NPC that I encountered. As I explored, I ended up finding this mime hanging out in a corner, which is the first real combat encounter in the game, as well as required for a trophy that is technically missable. Interacting with the mime starts combat, which to me is one of the strongest things in Clair Obscur. Usually I'm not a big fan of turn-based RPGs, but I quickly found myself enjoying the way combat flows, mainly due to the parry and dodge system. What's really nice about it is that if your timing is good, you're able to avoid taking damage entirely, and even counterattack if you parry every single attack from an enemy during their turn. It's especially important to get good at parrying and dodging on expert difficulty due to enemies dealing increased damage. It took me a couple attempts, but I learned the mime's attack patterns and got comfortable with parrying it, which is incredibly satisfying when you do successfully get a counterattack. More importantly, I was able to fully fill up Gustav's overcharge gauge, and use his overcharge ability on the mime, which caused it to break due to having filled up its break meter entirely, which earned me my first 2 trophies of the run: Time to Spill Some Ink for breaking an enemy, and Overcharge for using a fully charged overcharge attack that breaks an enemy. Shortly thereafter, I was able to finish off the mime, earning me my 3rd trophy, a Peculiar Encounter. With the mime now dead, I proceeded towards the docks to let the Gommage happen, which leads into a fantastic cutscene that got me hooked on the story for the game.
I'm here.
So, the Gommage is every year the paintress wakes up and reduces the number on the monolith by 1. Anyone above that age ends up being gommaged, which causes them to turn into flower petals, ending their life. So people, mainly those who only have 1 year left to live, will join the expeditions to sail out and try to kill the paintress to put an end to the Gommage. This brings me to the expedition party to see off Expedition 33. The first thing I did is once I got here, I ran to this booth with a lady wearing a blue dress to purchase an item that's required to get a collectible later on in the game. In the release version of the game, if you fail to go to this lady and buy the item, then you would be unable to earn one of the collectibles you need later in the game, making a trophy unobtainable. However, this has been patched in recent versions of the game, but it's something to keep in mind if you're playing with a physical copy that's unpatched. I spend the next couple of minutes running around the party chatting with everybody, including the expedition commander Alan, who I'm sure nothing bad will happen to him. After a little while, Gustav's sister Emma shows up to the party, and speaking with her ends it and sets me on my way to begin Expedition 33, earning me the trophy Lumiere. As the expedition arrives at the continent, we land on a beach and meet this old man who introduces himself in a very friendly way. As pretty much all of Expedition 33 gets killed off, Act 1, Gustav begins. After waking up and doing some exploring, I find the bodies of Expedition 33 and get introduced to the second party member, one of the few survivors, Lune. Once the cutscene ends, it starts up a combat tutorial which introduces Lune's abilities. After winning this fight, I get access to the Pictos and Lumina system. This is really where you can control how you want to build your characters. The way it works is that Pictos can only be equipped on one character at a time and will increase stats like health and crit chance, as well as having a unique effect like the Dodger Pictos, which gives one additional action point on your first successful dodge each turn. After winning 4 battles with a Pictos equipped, it becomes a Lumina, which you can use Lumina points to get the unique effect of the Pictos on any character in your party, regardless of having it equipped or not. A short bit later, I encounter my first expedition flag, which allows me to assign attribute points. I decided early on though, given how quickly my characters are dying on expert difficulty, that it would make more sense for me to dump all my points into agility for increased speed, luck for increased critical chance, and might for increased damage. Since why bother increasing health if it only causes fights to last longer, giving more chances for me to mess up a parry or a dodge and end up dying. And I personally believe that building as a glass cannon is the best way to handle expert difficulty. I continued through the Spring Meadows area and stumbled upon my first of 11 Nevron quests. Throughout the game you'll encounter these Nevrons, which are neutral and will ask you to complete a task for them, usually just picking up an item and bringing it back to them. Completing all 11 of these quests will reward you with a trophy. And then in this area I also found my first of many expedition journals, which I'll also need to get a different trophy. Once I made it to the end of the Spring Meadows region, I get greeted with a cutscene and my first of many boss fights in the game against Evike. It's a pretty fun and easy boss fight to start the game off with, and the attacks Evike uses are very easy to dodge or parry, allowing me to defeat it on my first try without much issue. Beating the boss leads into a cutscene where we find a note about Mael being alive and taken to a house in a nearby area, which sets me on my next task of finding Mael, and as the cutscene comes to a close, earning me the trophy Spring Meadows for defeating Evike. This brings me into the second area of the game, the Flying Waters, where I quickly find a new mechanic in the form of this paint cage. The way these things work is you have to find and shoot 3 different locks, which will open it up and reward you with either weapons, but more often than not upgrade items. Opening up this first one here earns me the trophy Paint Cage. Continuing through the area, I reach the mysterious doorway that was mentioned in the message and go inside, which brings me into the manor for the first time. There's going to be quite a few of these doors that I'll find throughout the game. Each one I need to access, which will open up a new room in the manor, giving me collectible items that I'll need for a couple different trophies. For now, most of the doors within the manor are locked, except for the one in the dining hall, where Mael is found, who is my third party member. Before leaving, I have to fight the curator, who owns the manor. This acts as the tutorial for Mael, whose main mechanic is combat stances. Offensive, which increases the damage she deals, but also the damage she receives. Defense, which reduces the damage she deals and the damage she'll take. And Virtuose, which will double her damage with no drawbacks, with different skills that she uses switching her between the stances. Once I beat the Curator, I'm able to leave the manor and encounter Noko, my first of many gestural merchants in the game. The merchants will sell you items for chroma, but you can also fight them in a 1v1 to unlock some additional powerful items, usually in the form of Pictos, which can be incredibly useful. I continued working through the Flying Waters area, which I want to take a brief moment to mention. I really do enjoy how pretty much every area in the game has unique enemies to fight in it, rather than doing the usual thing in RPGs of just reskinning the same enemy over and over again. It made each region a lot more fun having to learn the enemy attack patterns. Further on in the area, I reached the optional boss, the Bourgeon. As a side note, I do apologize that I'm probably butchering pronouncing the French words and names in Clair Obscur, but this boss, while being optional, is definitely worth fighting. Its mechanic is that it eats one of your party members at the start of the battle, which in order to free them, you have to break the boss. Its attack patterns are pretty easy to parry or dodge though once you get the hang of its timing, and after a couple of attempts I was able to beat the boss, which earned me the augmented counter Pictos, which is, in my opinion, one of the more useful Pictos in the game, as well as a Bourgeon skin, which will be useful for a Nevron quest later. After a whole lot more fights, I pushed through the rest of the area and made it to the boss fight against Goblu. His unique mechanic is that he'll summon up these flowers, which if you don't use the free aim to shoot the flowers and close them up, they will buff him on his next turn. I finished out the fight without too much difficulty, and as I left the area, I earned the trophy, Flying Waters. I then get a cutscene which shows off Mael's nightmare as well as hers and Gustav's relationship some more. Unfortunately, I can't really spend a ton of time showing off the cutscenes and the story within Clair Obscur without making this video multiple hours long. The story is absolutely incredible and definitely makes the game worth playing. As the cutscene ends and I'm given control again, the Curator is now present at the camp. He offers a couple different services, including allowing you to use Color of Lumina to increase the Lumina points for all of your characters, upgrade your health, energy, and revive tints, and also upgrading weapons. To start with though, I go ahead and assign some Lumina points, which gives me the trophy Lumina for assigning my first point to a character. I then go to the Weapon Upgrade tab, which increases not only the attack power, but also the stat scaling for attack power, and unlocks unique skills for certain weapons. So I go ahead and upgrade Lune's weapon, earning me the trophy Weapon Upgrade. Before I leave camp, I go to the campfire and select the Checkup on the Others interaction, which goes ahead and gives you optional cutscenes between the characters, and earns me the trophy Curious for witnessing my first optional cutscene. The next area in the game is the Forgotten Sanctuary. Here it's a bunch of Gestrals which are piloting creations called Sakapatats, which they use to fight Nevrons. And the final boss fight here is against the Ultimate Sakapatat. The fight against the Ultimate Sakapatat is pretty fun. I quickly realized that I could shoot its shield arm to deal some heavy damage to it, as well as remove some of its available attacks. Overall, the fight went pretty well for me, and I only needed 2 attempts in order to kill it. With the fight completed, my next destination is the Gestral Village, and I earned the trophy Ancient Sanctuary for clearing the area. In the Gestral Village, there are a ton of NPCs to talk with that have some pretty great dialogue, but the main one is the Chief Golgra, who agrees to help us in reaching the monolith, but we first need to prove ourselves in a tournament against the best Gestral fighters. This leads into fighting 3 different Gestrals, who are all incredibly easy to deal with, and then a 4th mystery fighter, who's actually another member of Expedition 33, Ciel. Her unique mechanic is Sun and Moon charges and Foretell. When Sun is active, she'll gain action points when she consumes Foretell, and then action points when applying Foretell while Moon is active. And then when both Sun and Moon are active, she'll switch into Twilight, which increases Foretell applied as well as damage. She ended up becoming one of my most used characters throughout the rest of the playthrough. With the tournament won, Golgra gives us information to reach Esquia's Nest, and I earn the trophy Gestral Village as I leave the area. Back at camp, this gives us another sequence of Mael's nightmare, where the white-haired man is present, as well as this masked girl named Alicia. Right now these cutscenes are pretty cryptic, but they will make sense later on in the game. In the next area, SKA's Nest, we get to meet SKA himself, who is yet another great character. We ask him for his help in crossing the sea to reach the monolith, which he agrees to in exchange for us finding some of his special rocks, in particular, Flory, which will help him swim.
One whose every step shakes the foundation of the world. The one known as Francois.
Okay.
Let me guess, Francois is located deep in Nevron-infested territory, right?
Oh no. He's right next door. Over there.
Oh.
One short walk later, I meet up with Francois to get Flory back.
You certainly have rocks for brains. I am clearly a turtle. Eskia! Stop sending hooligans over here!
It's okay. We'll leave. We're just here for Flory.
So, not only are you intruding, you're here to steal? Oh my word! Humans! Well, over my dead body!
After I beat Francois, who is an incredibly easy fight, I return with the rock he gave us to SKA, who lets us know that the rock isn't in fact Flory. And then we learn that Flory is located at the Stonewaves Cliffs location, which is where I need to head to next. As the cutscene ends, I earn 2 trophies, Legend for unlocking SKA, and SKA's Nest for completing this area. After leaving SKA's Nest, I stumbled upon my first out of 5 gestural beaches. These all have a specific minigame within that you need to complete in order to earn a trophy. For this one in particular, it's just this pretty simple parkour course, so I quickly wrap this up before moving on. Making it to the Stonewave Cliffs area, I ended up getting a combat-related trophy for Mael, which involves you having to mark an enemy, and then use her per se skill while she's in virtuose stance for the trophy Synergy. The boss of the Stonewave Cliffs is the Lamp Master. This fight is pretty cool for a couple of reasons. First, the boss's attacks are pretty easy to read and counter, but the big mechanic is his lanterns. He'll light them up, and if you don't shoot them with a free aim shot before his turn, they'll shoot at random party members. Overall, phase 1 of this fight is pretty simple, but what sets this boss apart from the previous ones in the game is that as soon as you drop his health bar to 0, he'll enter phase 2, with a fresh health bar and some new attacks. His lamps get a new mechanic where they will flash in a random order, and in order to prevent him from executing a powerful attack, you'll have to shoot the lamps in the exact same order that they flash. All things considered, he's not that difficult of a boss, especially when I compare him to bosses that I'll have to fight later in the game, but he definitely has some pretty cool mechanics. With the Lamp Master dead, we end up recovering Flory so that SKA is now able to swim. So Ciel and Lune jump down onto SKA, while Gustav and Mael reminisce.
Wanna throw one more rock?
The others are waiting, but...
You might reach her.
Okay. Rock. It's more about...
Gustav.
Run.
Run. Please run.
I was genuinely shocked when this happened, and this leads into a scripted fight where you just have to keep attacking until a cutscene starts, but I was not prepared for what was going to be coming next.
For those who come after. Right?
You promise!
It is not often that a game really surprises me and leaves me speechless, but this entire sequence really has. The white-haired man talks about how he's doing this for Mael's own good, and how she won't understand, but that they both want what's best for their families, and that Mael is caught in the middle. The stranger from Mael's first nightmare cutscene then shows up, named Verso, who fights against the white-haired man, which allows Mael and the others to flee, with Verso tagging along with them. As the cutscene ends, I earn the trophy, Stonewave Cliffs. And this begins Act 2 of the game, Verso. So, if you're like me, you might have thought, there's no way they're actually killing off Gustav, right? So the next area of the game is the Forgotten Battlefield, where one of the main tasks is finding a place to bury Gustav's arm. Luckily, all the Lumina points invested in Gustav, as well as weapon upgrades, apply to Verso as well. So you don't have to be upset about wasting points on Gustav just for him to be killed off. So Verso's unique mechanic is pretty cool. He has what's called the Perfection rank, which has different ranks ranging from D to S, being the highest, and as his Perfection increases, so does his damage. As well as at different ranks, various skills of his get buffed. You increase Perfection by dealing damage, countering, that kind of stuff. Speaking of, as soon as I hit S rank with him for the first time, I earned the trophy, Perfection. Within the Forgotten Battlefield area, I happen to stumble upon this Chromatic Luster enemy, which gives me a chance to go for another kind of annoying trophy. So what this trophy requires you to do is to successfully beat a boss without any of your party members taking damage. You can easily earn this trophy by attacking either end of chapter bosses, or any chromatic enemy that you encounter also counts for this trophy. As soon as I was able to kill this Chromatic Luster with no damage taken by any of my party, I earned the trophy, Professional. I keep pushing through the area and encounter the Duelist, which is the boss of the Forgotten Battlefield. This boss actually reminds me quite a bit of the Dancer of the Boreal Valley from Dark Souls 3. The first phase is pretty easy. However, just like the Lamp Master before, the Duelist has two separate phases. For the second phase, the Duelist gets a second sword, which allows it to use a couple new attacks, as well as gives some additional strikes in each attack combo it does. Something that you may notice is that my party is all just about at 1 hit point. This is because of a couple different Lumina that I've acquired throughout the game, which increases damage and critical hit chance when below a certain hit point threshold. As well as Verso's Berserk Slash skill, which increases damage the lower his health is. In my experience on Expert difficulty, most enemies, and bosses especially, can one-shot party members, so I figured I may as well lean into it and do a pure glass cannon build, which is what I've done throughout the entire rest of my playtime. It took me a couple more attempts to learn the Duelist attack patterns, before ultimately finishing it off, and making it to the end of the level, where the characters said their goodbyes to Gustav. As I exit the area, I earn the trophy, Forgotten Battlefield. This brings me back to the camp where a new mechanic is available. When you speak with party members, you'll sometimes have the option to spend time with them to raise your relationship level. There's going to be trophies for getting rank 7 relationship with all party members, so it's always a good idea to speak with everyone whenever you're in camp. The next area in the game is Monoko Station, where we meet Monoko, who's an old friend of Verso. After a brief battle with Monoko, and killing an Evron outside, I get a pretty great cutscene.
Need the foot. Aha!
He transforms by collecting Nevron feet. Don't ask me how it works. I've never understood.
I will never join you again.
There will be a lot of fighting, though.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
There will be a lot of fighting.
Exactly.
Count me in then.
Good.
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 Yes, good.
Noko's coming too.
Oh, you are?
L'homme mercante va dormir. C'est mon tellement très joli. Va ser le meilleur mercanteur du monde.
As a responsible parent, this is a superb idea. Let us go. to old Lumiere.
With that done, Minoko agrees to join the expedition, and I earn the trophy Expedition 33 for unlocking all playable characters. Minoko is an interesting character. The way he ends up working is that he has this wheel of masks, which using different skills will spin the wheel by a certain number of times. Some of his skills will receive an additional buff if the corresponding mask is currently selected on the wheel. And then to unlock skills for Minoko, you have to kill Nevrons while he's actively in your party. Unfortunately, this makes him a pretty weak character when you end up unlocking him, unless of course you decide to backtrack through previously cleared areas and kill the various Nevrons there. So I didn't really use Minoko that much during my playthrough, except for the grind to unlock all of his skills for a trophy. With that tutorial out of the way, I earned the trophy Minoko Station. As I was making my way to the next area, I stumbled upon another gestural beach, which is the Gestural Ascension. This here is a pretty big parkour course where you have to slowly work your way up this massive tower of floating objects. On one hand, this course is kind of frustrating, mainly due to the mechanics for jumping around being not the greatest, but overall it's actually a kind of fun little minigame to do, and after a couple minutes I made it to the top and completed my second out of 5 gestural beaches. In the next area of the game, Old Lumiere, the party gets split up into 2 groups, with Minoko, Lune, and Ciel being together, and Verso and Mael being together. After fighting my way through some of the enemies in the area, I reach a expedition journal, which causes Lune to read it and freak out about how they need to find Mael quickly. Now in control of Mael and Verso, I finally find the use for the old key in this little fallen building, which has a locked door, which behind it is a journal that you need to pick up. Later in the level, Verso splits off from Mael, leaving Mael alone, which once I reach the end of the area, I find the manor once again, and the door is opened by what appears to be a female version of the curator.
I knew you'd open the door for her.
Really, Verso? This was your plan?
During this cutscene, it is revealed that Verso is actually the old man, Renoir's son. I now get to actually fight Renoir for real. So this boss fight is where I really started to feel the difficulty spike in the game. Most of his attacks are pretty varied, and he has some more complex combo attacks compared to the previous bosses I've dealt with thus far. A big problem with this boss fight is that all of my characters start at max health. Verso happens to have only half health due to Pictos that I currently have equipped on him, which made Verso my main damage dealer, using Berserk Slash whenever I had the opportunity, whereas Ciel and Mael could deal much lower damage, since unfortunately my build does rely on my characters being nearly dead. Ultimately though, after a couple attempts I was able to drop his health bar down to nearly 0, which finishes the fight. With the fight now over, I'm treated to a cutscene where he charges a chroma attack, which ends up killing Noko. And then Mael has another one of her nightmare sequences with Alicia. As the cutscene finishes, I earn the trophy Old Lumiere. This brings us back to the camp, where the group asks the curator about how to make a weapon to pierce the barrier that's protecting the paintress. He says he needs us to kill 2 Axons in order to make this happen, so that's my next objective. At this point, you're given the choice to kill either Visages or Sirene. I decided to go for Visages first. Along the way though, I did stumble upon another gestural beach, which for this minigame is just a little time trial where you have to race across a platform parkouring and try to beat it in a certain time frame. Making it to Visages Island, shortly after entering, we're greeted by the Mask Keeper, who tells us to follow a path to meet Visages. I'm given the choice to either head straight to Visages or go down some alternate pathways first. I went ahead down one of the alternate pathways first, which leads me to an area represented by the emotion of anger. After a little bit of fighting my way through some enemies, I reach the mask and have to fight a mini-boss. Once I kill the mini-boss, I'm transported back to the start of the area, so I go down the next pathway after the Mask of Joy. While in this area, I ended up reaching level 33 with one of my characters, giving me the trophy Expeditioner for hitting level 33 with any character. There's not really a whole lot to say about these mini-bosses. They're basically just a more powerful version of a normal enemy, so I quickly knock out the Joy mini-boss and then the Sadness mini-boss, which leaves just the Visages themselves to deal with. The Visages fight is pretty cool. The way he works is that he'll summon a mask from the mirror, which he always starts with the Determination mask, which is a multi-hit combo which will attack your whole party at once. Afterwards, he'll randomly select which mask to use from his mirror. You can shoot his masks in the mirror to break them, which prevents him from using those masks later in the fight. That being said, because my entire party is set up with the 1 HP high damage build, Visages doesn't even get a chance to reuse a mask, as I'm able to quickly bring him into phase 2 before he even rotates back to the original masks. In fact, he only gets 2 turns where he's able to attack before I'm able to kill him. Phase 2 of the fight is where things get much harder. Here you have to fight the Mask Keeper himself, who's the real Axon. He has some pretty tricky combos that he can use, and some attacks which will hit the entire party and easily finish them off, especially since I can't make any mistake being at 1 HP. It took me, I'd say, about 15 attempts to learn all of his attacks before I got the fight down and was able to finish him off. By defeating the Mask Keeper, I get the Immaculate Pictos, which gives an additional 30% damage until a hit is received by whichever party members it's equipped on, which makes my build even more absurd, and get rewarded with a cutscene, and finally the first Axon trophy for killing either Visages or Cyrene. Once back at camp, it's incredibly important to go to the campfire and select check up on the others. Doing this leads into a cutscene between Mael and Verso, where they end up playing the piano together, which is a pretty nice cutscene to watch. The reason it's so important to watch this cutscene is that you'll get rewarded with a music record, which is required for the Connoisseur trophy for collecting all 33 music records. Next up, it's time to kill the other Axon, Cyrene. This area is a lot more straightforward compared to Visages. However, along the route, you'll come across this optional boss called Leticia. This is an optional fight, but killing it gives you a Pictos, which makes your party immune to being charmed, which I ended up not needing to use during the fight against Cyrene, but it can be helpful to have. As for Cyrene herself, I had a pretty easy time with her, mainly thanks to the glass cannon build that I'm using across my characters. I'm able to start the fight off by counterattacking her successfully, and with only my first turn, I'm able to bring her down into phase 2, where she uses her Grand Ballet attack. This was definitely the hardest attack for me to deal with, as it requires you to either parry or dodge 5 attacks successfully that all have just slightly different timing. Once you survive this attack, Cyrene will start having ballet dancers come down, which will charm one of your party members. This can either be countered by having the anti-charm Pictos equipped, or by executing a dodge right before being hit. The final attack from her that I had to deal with is she'll use her Glissandos to slam the ground, which requires you to execute 3 successful jump counterattacks. This left her only 1 hit away from dying, so with one final attack from Mael and the burn damage tick, I finished off Cyrene. As the cutscene concludes, I earn the trophy, Second Axon. Back at camp, Mael has another vision of the woman from the manor in Old Lumiere, and with the Axon hearts, the curator is able to make a weapon to pierce the barrier protecting the monolith. Before I head out to the monolith, I get another cutscene where Alicia shows up and gives Verso a letter. Now, it should be noted that Verso, Renoir, and Alicia are all still alive and not being gommaged or aging because of the Paintress, which is why Renoir has been stopping the previous expeditions, and also Expedition 33.
My beautiful sister doesn't need this ugly mask.
You embrace her, yet you're condemning her to die.
You brought him here.
I'm not here to fight. But my son, do you know what it means to disappear into nothingness? Have you thought through the consequences? Not just for you, or even me, but for them. Their memories, their dreams, their love for each other. Who really is the one painting death, and who paints life instead? You think you're ready to pay the price, but are you willing to let them pay the price for you?
So with that, it's finally time to head to the monolith. Starting with breaking the barrier surrounding it, we're finally able to reach it and fight the paintress. This leads into another scripted fight where you're unable to deal any damage to the paintress, and eventually leads into a cutscene. With that brief segment of everyone getting their heads set on fire except for Verso, we follow the mysterious woman through the portal, earning me the trophy Monolith. The Monolith is an incredibly cool area to go through, as it's basically a compilation of all the areas you've gone through thus far in the game. Along the way, you'll have these segments where you'll see the paintress and her family. In this first one, I have the paintress teaching her 3 children how to paint. A little bit later, I encounter a manor door, which I walk inside of and find a journal written by Aline. This journal is about how Aline is distraught over the death of her son, and she also talks about Alicia, which clearly lets us know that Aline is Verso's mother. This is really where all of the mysteries of the game start to come together, and was honestly incredibly cool for me to see. I enjoyed just how they gave little pieces of info as you go throughout the game, all foreshadowing to the big reveal, which is very soon to come. Along the way in the Lumiere section, we get another glimpse of the paintress teaching her son how to play piano. Or should I say, Aline teaching Verso how to play. Finally, I get to the end of the section where I get another vision of the paintress Aline and her husband Renoir. And Renoir shows up to make one final plea to Verso to not go through with stopping the paintress.
We're taking her down.
She's not the only one who grieves. The pain of losing you, she made me inherit it. Punishment, perhaps, for not being there when it mattered. I refuse to lose my son.
That son was a stranger.
But you're not.
This leads into what's probably my favorite boss fight in Clair Obscur, and what probably has the best boss fight theme in any game that I've ever played. Once again, I have to say I'm sorry that I'm probably about to butcher the pronunciation of this. Une vie à temer.
So little for us.
Not looking good.
You're outmatched.
Seriously, it is such a good song that I didn't even mind having to fight Renoir around 30 times while listening to it. As for the fight itself, his attacks are pretty much identical to when you fight him in Old Lumiere. That is until he reaches his second phase. For his second phase, he gets brought back to full health and gains a couple new attacks. This took me quite a few attempts to get used to his new attack patterns, figuring out which ones that I should parry and which ones I should dodge instead. The fight ended up being incredibly close, with only Ciel being left alive at the end, but I just barely managed to finish him off, much to my relief. Finally, with Renoir defeated, he gives one last impassioned speech trying to get Verso to stop before attacking one final time.
Then let us celebrate the second destruction of the Descendre family? At long last, we meet. This is all you have left of your son. Destroying it won't bring your wife back. It will only destroy the last tie you have to each other.
With the curator helping to gomage Renoir, now all that remains is the paintress herself. Heading to the top of the monolith, I encounter her, with her revealing even more information about the story.
She's not Alicia. You are not my Verso.
No. Verso's dead.
You will not take this canvas from me.
So the paintress fight was actually pretty easy to me, especially compared to Renoir. Her first phase is very straightforward, with attacks that are pretty easy to deal with. The main issues that I ended up facing were all in the second phase, when she summons the giant golem to help her out. Even then though, I ended up coming up with a strategy of using Ciel's gradient attack to debuff the paintress, and then unloading all of my highest damage dealing skills onto her. It ended up taking me around 20 attempts to figure out her attacks and come up with this strategy before I was able to finish off phase 2, which caused me to panic a little bit seeing that the fight still had a third phase. Luckily, this third phase is a scripted sequence as well, where you just have to finish off the last little bit of the paintress's health bar. Doing so gives me the Pictos Painted Power, which removes the damage cap of 9,999. With the paintress now defeated, I get to watch the ending cutscene showing Verso and Mael gomaging the paintress, who ends up calling Mael Alicia. As we plant the Expedition 33 flag and the cutscene closes, I earn the trophy Paintress for beating her. I then get a cutscene showing the expedition returning to Lumiere, with Mael letting Gustav's sister Emma know about his fate. Verso then goes off on his own to read the letter from Alicia, where finally the big reveal of the game occurs.
I'm at peace with what's to come. When the time comes, I hope you will be too. Mael, it's a strange feeling watching you with my brother, laughing and smiling, without the scars or the memories that afflict me. Alicia, as she was meant to be. Not this painted version that I am. My family, a facsimile of yours. And this world, a mirror, painted by your mother, the paintress. To stave off her grief, seeing your expedition through would plunge us all into the abyss. For in ridding the world of the paintress, you'd lose the sole force standing against the one who would erase us, the one who invokes the flowers of the gommage. an act of love, for he does love her. Your father. On her monolith, she paints a warning for us all, of the few she can save as her power wanes. We all wish for our families to thrive. Your family, however, believes only one can survive. But perhaps you'll find another way. You who have lived amongst us, perhaps you differ from your father and your sister, as I differ from mine. Your mother paints life, whilst your father, death. What will you paint?
With that, the gamage begins again. This time though, it erases everybody. This brings us into the epilogue, Alicia, where I'm in the real version of the manor playing as Alicia, and go to meet her sister Clea. We see here, Aline and Renoir are both in the canvas, and Clea tells us about how they're currently battling in there. She suggests that Alicia should go in there to help Renoir defeat Aline. However, shortly after entering the canvas, Alicia ends up getting reborn as one of Aline's creations in the form of Maëlle. It was such a cool reveal for me to witness, and I'm especially glad that I went into the game spoiler-free. I can't say it enough, but I really do enjoy the story of Clair Obscur, and think it's well worth playing just to experience it for yourself. Maëlle and Verso are the only two left for now, and we head off to find the curator, who's actually the real Renoir, to convince him to bring back everyone now that Aline has been banished from the canvas. This doesn't really go that well, as Renoir is convinced that Alicia will continue to spend her days in the canvas rather than the real world as a way of coping with the grief of her loss, and he decides to continue with erasing the canvas. Monoko and Esquier were also able to escape the gommage and show up to rescue Maëlle and Verso. As the cutscene ends, I earn the trophy back to Lumiere. Back at camp, Maëlle is able to bring back Ciel and Lune, and our new mission is to defeat Renoir to stop him from erasing the canvas. This now brings me to the endgame, with Esquier now having the ability to fly, which makes traveling around the map way faster, as well as opens up some new areas. The objective at this point is to go to Lumiere whenever I'm ready to fight Renoir. Technically, you can complete all the other side content in the game before Lumiere, however, I would personally recommend going straight there. Otherwise, what'll happen is you'll end up ridiculously overpowered when you end up fighting Renoir, and the fight's gonna be pretty boring. As for Lumiere itself, this whole area was a ton of fun to go through, not only with the music that's playing, which is epic, but you also get to see all of the expeditionaires fighting different creations of Renoir as you go through. Reaching the end of Lumiere, I find Renoir, with Maëlle, or technically Alicia, pleading with him one more time for him to not destroy the canvas, as it's all that remains of Verso's soul. Honestly though, Renoir does give a very compelling argument that the canvas is taking his family away from him, that instead of living their lives, his wife and his daughter Alicia are both going to keep spending their days in the canvas, pretending that Verso is still alive with them. Ultimately, this ends up leading into the final boss fight of the game. So even without me doing any other content after completing the monolith, I quickly realized just how insanely powerful my glass cannon build is. Phase 1 of Renoir is pretty easy to deal with. With only one counterattack and 2 turns from my party, I'm able to break him and push him into Phase 2 of the fight. For Phase 2, Renoir gets all of his health back, but with the way I did things, I'm entering Phase 2 with him broken, so he ends up stunned and unable to act immediately, letting me take a turn with Verso and Ciel. I'm able to drop his health to around 40%, which causes him to finally summon their family portrait and retrieve his sword. Because he's at about 40% health, he goes ahead and does this long choreographed attack where he'll fly around the arena for about 20 seconds before he finally attacks the party. With some careful dodging, I'm able to survive all of his attacks and get a turn to drop him to only a sliver of his health left. He ends up being just alive enough so he gets one more turn, which he ends up taking out Maëlle, but on my next turn I'm able to deal the last little bit of damage required to get the cinematic finish for the fight. This leads into one of my favorite cutscenes in the game, with Renoir explaining why he's trying so hard to erase the canvas.
Since the fire, our family has crumbled. A lean in the canvas. Claire, fighting a solitary war. You, a living ghost. Verso's death broke us. Want it to be fixed. I need it to be fixed. I cannot lose you too.
Don't you see? That's how I feel about them. I can't lose them either. I've lost too much. Papa, see? I've lost so much.
We both lost so much.
Papa, I don't want to lose you either. I'm not leaving you forever. Just a little longer.
I want to trust you, but
you can.
keep the light on for you. I hope you find peace. Hold on to each other.
As Verso goes ahead and enters the portal, I earn the trophy, The End. As Verso steps into the portal and enters this area, we find the fading boy, who's a representation of Verso's soul. Verso tries to get him to stop painting, but is interrupted by Mael. This begins a big argument between the two, of Mael wanting to keep the canvas intact, while Verso wants to erase it, so that their family can finally start to move on from the tragedy, and that he can finally have peace. You're given the choice of playing as either Mael to save the canvas, or Verso to destroy it. In my case, I didn't even hesitate, and decided to go with Verso to destroy it. The fight against Mael is incredibly simple compared to the fights against Renoir, the Paintress, and the painted version of Renoir. As I defeat Mael, I'm treated to my favorite cutscene in the whole game.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, huh? You've got this incredible power to paint. You'll never have to suffer a life you don't want. You're okay. Miss you guys. It's okay. It's over. Us.
I know that I've said it before in this video, but I'm going to say it again. The story in Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is phenomenal, and I think may very well be one of my favorite stories ever told in a video game. The snippets that I've shown throughout the video can't truly show off just how incredibly good the story is. While this ending is bittersweet, I do like how it shows Alicia looking forward to the rest of her life with all of her friends beckoning her onwards, rather than remaining in the canvas trying to suppress her grief. If you watch the Mael ending, you'll see exactly what I mean. So that wraps up the main story for Clair Obscur, and now it's time to clean up all the remaining trophies. First off, I talk with CL at camp to get her relationship level up to 7 to earn the trophy CL. Next up, I talked with SKA to level his relationship to max. As part of this though, I ended up getting his stone, which unlocks his final movement ability to go underwater, which ends up giving me the trophy Plane, Train, and Submarine. And then shortly thereafter, speak with him again to earn the trophy SKA for maxing out his relationship level. Then heading back to the world map, I fly around and collect all 9 of the Lost Gestrels, which earns me the trophy Lost Gestrels. Following that, I went to the 2 remaining Gestrel beaches, completing the Climbing Challenge minigame, and then the Explosive Volleyball minigame, which earned me the trophy Gestrel Games. Moving on from there, I decided to knock out some combat trophies that I hadn't gotten yet. Using a team with Lune and CL, I found this boss, Gros Tete, who is pretty easy to fight due to him only having 1 attack. Starting off with Lune, I use Ice Lance, then on her next turn use Immolation, and following that use Thunderfall. Then with CL, I had applied 20 Foretell to the boss, which I used Phantom Blade to consume all 20 during her being in Twilight to earn the trophy Maximization. The next 2 turns I did with Lune, I used the Earth Rising skill, which earns me the trophy Perfect Flow for consuming 1 or more stains 4 turns in a row. I then went ahead and reset the fight and charged up my gradient meter to 3 charges and executed a level 3 gradient attack to earn the trophy Chroma Proficiency. I then went ahead and got to work on getting Mael to the maximum relationship level. This brings us to find the Painted Alicia and fight her in a duel between her and Mael. Once she's beaten, Mael gomages her, and then back at camp I'm able to talk with Mael, who asks Verso if he could have saved Gustav. You are given the choice to either lie to her saying no you couldn't have saved Gustav, or to tell her the truth and say yes you could have but chose not to. In order to get her to maximum relationship, you have to tell her the truth. Once I hit max relationship level, I earn the trophy Mael. Then for Minoko's relationship, I have to help him revive Noko at the Sacred River. Here we end up having to fight with Golgra. During the fight, I did happen to earn Minoko's combat trophy for using 4 upgraded skills, which just means using skills that are boosted by the mask currently in play on the wheel. Doing this ended up giving me the trophy Wheel Control. After beating Golgra, I return to camp and speak with Minoko some more to boost his relationship to max and earn the trophy Minoko. Finally is Lune, who I need to head to the back of Cyrene's island and fight this Glissandos that killed the expedition her parents were a part of. Upon recovering the journal for their expedition, we go back to camp and I'm able to reach level 7 relationship with her for the trophy Lune. I then found the last of 11 friendly Nevrons and completed their quest, earning me the trophy Aiding the Enemy. While I was knocking out all of those trophies, I've had Minoko in my party working on collecting all the different skills for him. Along the way, I encountered this chromatic lace, which I ended up killing, causing Verso to hit level 66, earning me the trophy Trailbreaker. The next thing that I decided to tackle is all of the world bosses, starting off with the Chromatic Petanque. This one is pretty easy to fight, as you usually will fight at least one, if not multiple, throughout the game, and it doesn't have any different attacks. The only thing that's kind of annoying is it's summoning minions. Killing it earns me the trophy Careau Parfait. I did make one quick detour going back to the monolith to kill the ultimate Sakapatat to unlock the final skill needed for Minoko, earning me the trophy Feat Collection. The next world boss that I decided to tackle is the Serpent Fair. This was a pretty annoying boss fight to deal with, but after a couple of tries attempting it, I started to get used to its attack patterns and I was able to take it down. Killing it ended up earning me the trophy Aeon and my first perfect Chroma Catalyst. Heading back to camp, I was able to put that perfect Chroma Catalyst to use by upgrading Mael's weapon to level 33, earning me the trophy Weapon Mastery for maxing out a weapon. I then went to take out the last of the world bosses, Sprong, which I quickly realized that I should have killed him before Serpent Fair. He has far lower health, and more importantly, he gives me the Pictos Cheater, which lets each character that has it equipped act twice per turn, which is an absurdly powerful Pictos. The next thing that I tackled is the Painting Workshop. There's 3 Painting Workshop locations across the map that you need to enter each of them to collect an item. Once you've collected all 3, you're able to unlock the boss fight, which is against an upgraded version of the Lamp Master. At this point in the game, for me, it was a cakewalk of a boss fight, and I was able to finish it quickly, earning me the trophy Noir et Blanc, and another perfect catalyst, which I used for Verso. This brings me to one of the harder challenges in the game, the Endless Tower. This is made up of 11 stages, each consisting of 3 fights, and the fights start out being against just basic enemies, but in the later stages you're fighting multiple bosses at a time. Overall, the levels weren't too bad until I started hitting stage 11, where I'm going up against 3 bosses per fight. The hardest fight though is Stage 11 Battle 3, which is against Painted Love, which is Renoir and Aline. This fight took some real getting used to, as it's a combination of their attacks that they use during their respective boss fights. After a couple of tries, I came up with a strategy for trying to build up to level 3 gradient charges and using Mael's Gommage ability to kill them. Finishing out the fight, I earned the trophies Endless for completing the Endless Tower, as well as collect the final music record out of 33 that I need for the trophy Connoisseur. From here I went to the Flying Manor location, which has me fight 4 mini-bosses before reaching and fighting the painted version of Clea. Once again, I'm pretty sure that I ended up over-leveled when it came time for this fight, as I was able to kill her with hardly any issues. This brings me to the final location in the game that I will be at, which is Renoir's Drafts. Here I'll get the last few trophies that I need. Starting off, I encountered this gestural merchant along the way, which provides me with a perfect opportunity to grind out the last of the experience I need for level 99. After spending roughly 30 minutes to kill him, getting the last of the experience points that I needed, I hit level 99 with Verso, which gives me the trophy Survivor for having any character reach level 99. With that done, there's only 2 trophies left between me and the Platinum. Right now on screen, I'm showing you the weapons and Pictos, as well as Lumina and skills that the 3 characters, CL, Verso, and Mael, that I use for this final boss fight have equipped. So that way if you're trying to go for it yourself, you can copy my build. There's probably more optimized builds that you can find online, however this is just what I came up with as I was going through the game and what I've been running up until this point. So let me break down the Simon boss fight. For starters, in Phase 1 he's very easy to deal with. He has a pretty low health pool and his attacks are fairly easy to dodge and parry. Phase 2 is where he really starts to become a problem. One of his big mechanics that he uses is anytime he kills one of your party members, he'll banish them from the canvas on his next turn, which removes them from the fight. The big issue is that he usually gets to have 2 turns in a row, so he can easily kill and banish a character before you have a chance to revive them. Additionally, in Phase 2, his attacks also become much harder to parry and dodge. He goes from just swinging his normal sword to having a second ghost sword that'll attack immediately after, so every swing of his sword is basically 2 attacks that need to be dodged or parried. If that's not bad enough, Phase 3 is where he gets so much worse. So let's say that you get him down to about 33% of his health. What he'll do is he'll banish your entire party from the canvas, forcing you to bring in your reserve team to finish the fight, as well as his attacks now become 3 attacks per swing of his sword. So the best strategy to fight him is to kill him off while he's still in Phase 2. So the way I did the fight went down like this. Phase 1, I killed him on my first turn, which resets the whole party for Phase 2 of the fight, as the game gives a fight end screen when you beat him in Phase 1. I start Phase 2 of the fight with Verso, shooting him 3 times to apply some burn stacks to him, and then use the Overload ability to reach Perfection Rank A and restore all action points. On Verso's second turn, I fire 6 more free aim shots to apply even more burn stacks, and then use the Powerful skill to apply Powerful to Mael. On Mael's turn, I open up with her Phantom Strike ability 2 times to generate gradient charges. This ends up putting me at 2 gradient charges when I get to CL's turn, which allows me to use her Doom gradient attack to debuff Simon. On her second turn, I use her intervention skill to make Mael take another turn. I then use another Phantom Strike to generate even more gradient charges, as well as use some free aim shots, which ends up applying Mark to Simon. With the mark applied to him, I go ahead and use Mael's Last Chance skill to restore all of her AP, and more importantly, switch her into Virtuose stance. This now leads into Simon's first turn, where he ends up doing one of his easier to deal with attacks of Performs a Powerful Combo. I decide to just play it safe and dodge my way through this attack rather than chancing the parry, since it's not like I really need the action points, and I didn't want to remove the mark with her by doing a counterattack. With Verso, I decide to go ahead and use his powerful ability just to make sure my L stays buffed with powerful. And then I make a bit of a mistake here and go ahead and use the Assault Zero ability just to deal some extra damage and get Verso up to S rank. On CL's turn, I then go ahead and use Fortune's Fury on my L to give her double damage on the next attack she does, and then Intervention to make my L take her turn immediately. At this point in the fight, I now have 3 Gradient charges banked up, which allows me to use Gamage on Simon. So at this point I was fully prepared to fight Phase 3, getting ready to mentally fight Simon with only Lune and Minoko, who are definitely a lot weaker than my main party. So I decide, let me just go ahead and use Gamage and whatever happens, happens. So yeah, the Gamage attack ended up dealing 41.5 million damage to Simon, which beat him and gave me the trophy Peace at Last. What's especially funny about this is I wasn't even running the Roulette Pictos on my L, which gives a chance to deal double damage. I just really did not expect that I was gonna one-shot him with Gamage like that. But I gotta say, I can't really complain. After having gotten Simon down to Phase 3 in one fight and ending up failing it, so I am rewarded with a cutscene where Simon ends up giving his sword to Verso. As the cutscene ends and I'm given control again, I'm able to walk over and pick up the final journal that I need to in the game, and as the last words of it are read and I close it out, I earn the last trophy in the game, Follow the Trail, and the Platinum, the greatest expedition in history. What a way to finish out 2025. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, in my opinion, definitely deserves its title of Game of the Year. I really had a phenomenal time playing it, and am incredibly happy to add it to my collection. Like I said near the start of the video, I'm not a huge fan of turn-based RPGs, but I really love the way they handle combat here. All around the game is just downright incredible, from the visuals to the soundtrack, and of course its story. Before I end the video, I just want to say a huge thanks for all of the support so far. Starting my channel in August, I didn't expect to be growing so quickly, especially growing to over 100 subscribers in such a short time. It means a lot to me that people actually enjoy watching my videos, and I really enjoy reading every comment that I get and hearing your own thoughts about various games. Let me know though what games you're excited to go for the Platinum on in 2026. I want to wish you all a happy new year, and here's to another year of trophy hunting.